sweet souls, thank you so much for taking a moment to stop by this video and say hello. I am thrilled that it's the last days, like it's hitting me again, the last days of this year. This past year was strange, weird, unusual to say the least. And I know that the year coming up is going to be equally as interesting, but to celebrate this full moon, to celebrate this full moon, we are going to be doing a full moon reading. I'm going to be asking 2 sets of cards, just a little bit of questions, and do a spread that I like to work with when I'm looking for kind of an evolved answer, when I'm looking for something that's intimate but not super elaborate. So I have a wonderful spread for that. I'm going to use that for us this evening, and I'm going to move you to above head so you can see my working space, and we're going to hop in. Alrighty, see you soon. Thank you so much for hanging in there for me while I get myself together and get myself in state. I'm excited to touch base with my Centennial Rider-Waite-Smith and my Spirit Message deck to look into what we need to focus on, what we need to release, what we need to let go of, what can we surrender using the energy of this full moon. It is the last moon of the year. It's the last full moon of the year, so we have to take advantage of it. So I'm going to shuffle my Spirit Messages. I'm going to pull the first card that shows up for us, and then I will use that as our focal point for how we're going to be reflecting on the rest of this year, the energy of this year. So when I talk about reflecting or releasing or letting go of or surrendering, the full moon for me is that cycle from the apex of the full moon, so the highest point of the full moon, all the way down until it becomes the new moon. So this to me is an excellent time to close things up, to wrap things up, to put them nestly to bed or sweetly to bed, nestle them to bed, however to bed, putting these things away and kind of housekeeping and cleaning away and putting debris in their proper places, putting things in the garbage, putting things away. So for me, that is the energy that I look at when we come to a full moon. So let's use the Spirit Messages deck to kind of give us a point of focus as to, we have 2 point of focus as to what we need to look at for this full moon. Since my cards often act at the speed of thought for me, we're going to go ahead and use these 2. We're going to use these 2. So I'm going to briefly shuffle this deck and then we'll hop in. So it just gives us a second to kind of get there. I feel like cards work faster than I do, and it's in my best interest to listen. And I have Anubis and Osiris flanking us on both sides, and they're just kind of standing guard for me. It's kind of how I like to think about it. I love having them on the table. Just to follow through, follow up, follow with. The god of life, the god of death. To me, this is the full cycle, the full circle. Okay. So, let's see what the messages are, okay? So let's start with the first one. Oh, a mother's love is the first one. See if it will focus for us. Maybe it will. And if not, maybe I'll be able to get some pictures for us later on. There we go. Perfect. All right, and the next one, and I'll read both of these, is stay connected. All right, so let's briefly read the captions below both of them. So the first one is, a mother's love is reaching out to you at this time and holding you close. She knows how much you miss her and wants to remind you that this special bond of love can never be broken. So card number 2, stay connected. We're all born connected to spirit, often known as divine source. Yet many of us have a tendency to pull away from that connection as we journey through life in the physical world. Now is an important time to reconnect to that source. I am still blurry. There we go. Perfect. So, a mother's love and staying connected. So, I feel like this is a slight invitation to look back at our history, look back not just at our maternal connections. I mean, yes, we all have mothers. We've all had mothers, otherwise we wouldn't be here. But maybe look at that connection and put away some of those things that have been gnawing at us, some of those stories that we've been repeating to ourselves that keeps us disconnected from our source. I feel like we all have stories that maybe could use a little bit of rewriting, a little bit of putting away, a little bit of forgiving finally, because it's like we can only hold Ma accountable for the way we have come up for so long before it's just our responsibility to handle things. So I love that as a way to kind of center our read this evening regarding the full moon. So let's see what else we need to know about this. I'm wondering if this is about stories. That's what feels to be coming up again and again as I'm shuffling these cards, is the stories that we tell ourselves, especially about our connections, not just to mothers, but maybe even our matron line. I mean, I'm sure this could apply to our patrons as well, or paternal, excuse me, our paternal line. But it just feels like that connection, those stories, that history that we repeat over and over again. And by history, I mean the stories that we tell ourselves about why we are the way we are, the stories that we continue to tell ourselves about why our parents are the way they are, the stories that we continue to hash together, the stories that we continue to spew and tell and share. I'm reminded of a sentence. It was like, what is it? Divorce the story and marry the truth. And sometimes that truth can be skewed depending on point of perspective, because Ma has one truth, we have another truth. No one can tell you that your truth is not yours, your experience is not yours. But so often, this is like the beginning of what feels like a often slippery slope of who said what to who and what's real and what isn't, and you misunderstood. The one thing I do want to make sure that everybody understands is that we cannot gaslight another person into saying that their experience is not the way they felt it was. So if you happen to have a situation with your own parents or your own mother, it's like she just refuses to see it or acknowledge it the way you do, you might just have to be okay with it never being the way that you want it to be. And that has its purpose too. And so allowing yourself to honor the relationship, honor the connection for exactly as it is, exactly what it is, will be so much more productive, there's the word, so much more productive for you than you trying to wrestle your relationship with your mother, with whoever this energy suits for, instead of wrestling it to the way you want it to be. So allowing it the room to be as it is instead of how you want it to be. Let's see what else we need to know. What else we need to know? So I'm going to use my first 4 cards as a descriptor of what we need to know. We're going to look at what's holding it back, what's pressing it forward, and the outcome, and also what is supporting and what is the influence. What is the overall influence of this? What else do we need to know regarding this full moon? The energy of this full moon. Okay, there it is. What else do we need to know regarding the energy of this full moon? First card is the Hierophant. I have to giggle slightly because we're coming into a 5-year. So 2021, add those all up together numerologically. There you go. And you come to the Hierophant. The Hierophant is, or at least in my perspective, my growing perspective, is that self-teacher, that higher knowledge, that internal wisdom, that education, that medicine that is necessary when moving into this new year. So I love that that came up for us. The Fool is also a really nice reminder, which is an interesting correlation. Even though we've come into this state of, I have knowledge, I have wisdom, I have power, I have authority, I have whatever XYZ it is, we also have to remember that we have to sometimes take a seat. There's still always room to have a seat. There is still always room to humble yourself, to have a student perspective, to have a beginning of the journey viewpoint. So even if we are the leader, even if we are the teacher, even if we are in this space or power of authority or perceived power and authority, we still have this room to remember this is the beginning of our story. This is the start of a new adventure. This is that beginning. This is the beginning of the new year. Ooh, so we also have the Hermit and we also have Death. So talk about that for a new year. One thing, first off the bat, we have all all major arcana cards. So we have the Hierophant, we have the Fool, we have the Hermit, we have Death. So with the Hermit card, this is often very deep, singular self-reflection. This is introspection. This is going away so that you can be back by yourself, so that when you do return from this adventure, you can come back transformed. You can come back changed. That this year, or this, I think of it as a year, that this time behind this moment never has to repeat itself again, because you have transformed. Nothing will be the same. Nothing will be the same. You cannot come back the same, because you have, it's kind of like when you, I'm thinking of fire. I'm thinking of explosions. I'm thinking of the phoenixes. I mean, I know phoenixes have a cycle of burning and then reigniting or reintroducing themselves. This feels a little bit in that way, where it's this deconstruction of who we thought we were, so that when we come back, when we grow back up through these ashes, through this fertile ground of ashes, that we can come back a new, realized, transformed version of ourselves. So this year, whoa. just whoa. So what is holding this back? What is holding this back? Six of Cups. For me, when I see the Six of Cups, I think of often either past lives or generational, the way things used to be, maybe reminiscence, nostalgia is all about that card. So the biggest thing that I find that holds us back when we're transforming is the way things used to be, the way things, the way we remember them being. And part of the medicine in fives is just to kind of give room for the grief of that, give room for the mourning of things will never be the same. Like, you need that room, you need that space, you need that opportunity to go through those times of deep emotions, deep sadness, deep revelatory nature, so that you can come back. You can come back transformed. What is supporting all of this? We are spending a lot of time thinking about everything. And I mean everything. This to me almost feels like the hyper analytical, looking at every nuance, flipping every rock over to look at underneath it, look with the microscope of every detail that could ever be imagined, because you want to get it right. Now, I'm personally not a big fan of the micro analytical behavior, because I find that hyper focusing too much. Excuse me. I thought I was going to cough. Hyper-focusing too much takes us away from being able to see the big picture, and often there's so much to the bigger picture that it makes the smaller picture more relevant. But if we're here, we lose track of sorry if you could only see my hair, but if we're too narrow, if we're too intensely focused, we lose track of everything that's around us. So if you can manage the in and out, if you can manage the back and forth, this can be a very productive card. The outcome for us this year is the Star. I have an interesting relationship with the Star, where I find it to be an ever-evolving meaning for me. So right now, when I'm thinking about the Star, I think of it as a center point of focus, where I have one foot in the water, which is deep-seated emotions. I have one foot and knee on the ground, which to me is about stability. So I have emotions being poured into the water. To me, that's kind of like the well, the emotional well that we're dumping our heart into, right? But also that we're feeding the land, we're feeding the water, we're feeding the earth that we're going to be using to stand on. So there's this almost nutrient feel to it. And then with that Star, it's that, to me, it's coming back to that epic center of focus. So if at all during the last year you are worried about others, or worrying about everyone else, or worried about what other people are doing, now is a wonderful time to get under those rocks and into those cracks and into those corners, and clear out all that baggage and focus on the self. Focus on you. Focus on what you want, what you're doing, what you're going to be doing next, because you can't not anymore. You no longer have that luxury of ignoring this. I would love to say that ignorance is bliss, and it was at one point, but now you know better. And because you know better, you have to do better, because it's like, Now what? So the overall influence for this year coming up for us is the Page of Pentacles. And I love that card for this because that just to me reflects so much intense focus and intense observation. So this card in particular, that page is very hyper-focused of that. I am losing my focus again. Anyway, is hyper-focused on his pentacle. That's his object of attention, object of affection. So he has found his point of focus. I think is just where that one goes back to. And what is supporting all of this? Point of focus. The King of Swords. I feel like the King of Swords is mastering of clarity. Enough is enough. I'm cutting through bullshit. I'm cutting through the masses. I'm getting rid of anything that does not serve and help and settle with me. I'm getting rid of it all. I'm getting rid of it all. This to me almost screams like minimalism. Like we've been living this more society, quote unquote. I want more of this. I want more of that. I want something more. I want more of something faster. We lived in this society for so long, and it is doing things to us. It's doing things to us. So this to me is coming back to like, all right, enough with the bullshit. Let's cut it out. Let's clean this up. Let's stop what we've been doing, because obviously what we've been doing has not been working. Let's get it done. Let's get to the picture. Let's get to the point. Let's get it done. And I am gonna point out the fact that with all these swords, makes me think of needles. So I'm wondering if this is also in relation to, I'm not saying that we're all going to be vaccinating. I know a lot of us in the metaphysical community live on both sides of that, to vaccinate, to not to vaccinate. Tell me in the comments, do you feel like you'll be getting this vaccine when it comes out, when it comes available to you? Do you think you'll be lining up for it, or will you take some time to reserve, or will you not be getting it all? I would love to chat about our feelings about that, because I've not had that opportunity to talk to anyone about that. So thank you so much for coming to this video about this full moon reading. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about this. I hope this lands for you, and if it resonated in any way, shape, or form, please feel free to let me know. I love hearing your comments. I love engaging with your stories. I love learning more about you. You all take care.